Let's talk about why every bar in the world should own a dehydrator. Hey guys, welcome to the BartenderHQ.com podcast with me, your host, David Eden-Sangwell, and thank you for joining me once again. Sorry there was no show last week. I was having a bit of family time, and to be honest, I had to just take a little break for 1 week. We've done pretty well since we've been back, so apologies if you missed me, but we are back right now. So before we get to our main topic this week about dehydrated fruit and presentation of garnishes on drinks, I want to just answer a quick question that's come in from our worldwide bartender community, which is our own community out on Facebook. We're rapidly approaching, I think, 8,000 members now. I'm actually just check exactly how many we've got in the group. In fact, we've smashed past 8,000. We're at 8,107 members. So it's one of the bigger bartending communities on the internet. There are certainly a few that are bigger, but we are getting probably 15 to 20 posts a day. There's some flair stuff in there. There are drinks recipes. There is stuff about jobs. So if you want to work somewhere else from where you are working right now, it's probably worth a look. Check it out. It is Worldwide Bartender Community on Facebook. That's the end of the plug. But Nicole from the community asks us, so I posted a quick video earlier today just mentioning that I was going to be doing a podcast and asking if anyone had any questions, and Nicole Barker has got back to us. She's one of our newer members, and she has asked, can you tell us American bartenders a little about the difference between working for bars with and without tips? I've always been curious about this, and absolutely, it is one of the weird things in the bar industry is, in the US at least, bartenders pretty much work on a tips basis. In most of the rest of the world, it's probably not as prevalent as it is in the US. Certainly, there are certain places where it's kind of a gradient between the US and the UK. The UK, in the vast majority of bars, tips is not something that makes up a significant amount of your take-home money at the end of the week. There are obviously exceptions to this, so some of the really high-end bars will potentially include a service charge into the cost of drinks. There are certainly a lot of bars as well that will have a more American-style culture to them, and in those bars you will tend to find that there is a bit more tipping going on. However, in the vast majority of the bars, certainly here in the UK, tips will probably make up maybe £10 per shift, something like that, about $15. So you're not looking at a huge amount of money in the vast majority of bars. So essentially any kind of bar where you're serving pints, you're serving a lot of beers, spirit and mixers rather than more cocktail focused or more high-end wine focused, you will find that the tips are very much a small percentage. And in those cases, I think there is a difference, certainly, and I think it comes more down to hiring. So bars are more likely to hire bartenders based on the service they give, in that it will assist in retaining guests, and the better bartenders do get paid a little bit more, certainly still not anywhere near what American bartenders would make in tips. There are certain bars where the bartenders are salaried. Now that is quite rare still, but there are certainly a number of bars where the bartenders will be on a set salary per year. They'll take holiday in the same way that someone in an office role would, with probably 4 to 5 weeks of holiday per year that's paid. And that's also part of the difference in the UK and in a lot of European countries, that like holiday time is mandated as part of the government's sort of package for what employees get everywhere. I think 4 weeks is basically the minimum that you would get of paid holiday over here in the UK, which means that you get paid essentially as much as you would be earning behind the bar. The one thing that you will not get is any of those tips, obviously, during the time off. And we certainly have a tip-out culture as well. So floor servers typically will be giving 10% to the bartender making their drinks at the end of a shift. There are certainly some companies that are a little bit shadier with the tip side of things, where because the tip culture is not as developed over here, it's sometimes taken by the venue and put into the wages. That is actually illegal as far as I'm aware, but it does still happen in certain places, so something to look out for. But hopefully that kind of gives you an idea. So obviously our healthcare and things like that is also built into the country. So we have the NHS, so everyone gets free healthcare at the point of need. It's not something that you get from your employer. Our minimum wage over here for I think over 25s is somewhere around 58.60 an hour, something along those lines, in pounds. So it's about $10-12 an hour, something like that. So that should give you a little bit of an idea. I know in the US, a lot of bartenders are paid quite low wages and then have to pay some of their tips in towards tax bills and things like that. We don't really have that so much over here. I believe taxes do apply on tips, but I don't know of many bartenders that make enough that it's actually taxable. So in this episode I wanted to talk about dehydrated fruit. I have recently bought myself a Dehydrator, which actually came second hand from another bartender who runs events, and I bought it for £10, which is like no money at all. These things are really pretty cheap though, from brand new. I believe on Amazon you can get them from sort of £30 upwards. And I will put a couple of options in the show notes of the podcast, so you can have a look at those. They're not expensive at all, actually, and dehydrated fruit I think is really funky, and I think for a lot of bars, especially with the gin culture here in the UK, with the rise of craft gins and the amount of different styles of gin that are available over here, consumers kind of expect, with the premium gins at least, to get appropriate garnishes based on the botanicals in the gin. So keeping that amount of fresh fruit and fresh herbs and things on hand can be impractical for certain bars. So I think dehydrating your fruit is a really good way around that. And so this is dehydrated orange that I've got in my hand, so it goes quite crispy. As you can imagine, dehydrated, you need to cut this stuff really quite thinly. And you do full wheels quite often, but you can do all sorts of fruits. So you can do kiwis, you can do all sorts of different stuff. Apple works really well in a dehydrator. Pineapple looks really funky once it's been dehydrated. And I think that these fruits are a really, really good way of being able to offer a larger range of fruits for your guests' garnishes. It's certainly not something that I would think will replace fresh fruit in a lot of venues, and it's not something that's particularly new to the market either. It has been around in certain bars for many years. What I do think about dehydrated fruit that is great, though, is the fact that it really keeps a lot of the aroma and a lot of the flavours actually in the fruit. Even though it's dried out, it doesn't lose its aroma. It really still contributes to the drink. I was worried when I first used dehydrated fruits that I thought it would be very much just a decorative thing, although you can kind of attach it to the side of the glass. You're not going to get the orange oils and things like that from the skins in the same way that you would by expressing a twist. However, these do make really attractive garnishes, and it looks like you've put a bit more effort in. Now, the other advantages to dehydrated fruits is that it does last a really, really long time. Now, I'm not 100% sure of the actual shelf life, and I'm not going to give it any warranties here to how long this stuff will last, but it's certainly not going to go off within a day or two like a fresh fruit item would. It doesn't decompose in the same way, and it's definitely more aromatic. The stuff that I've got in this jar here, I actually dehydrated, I believe, around about a year ago, and I'll just keep it in one of these Kilner jars with the lock tops, and I think this stuff works really, really well. Now, I did some stuff the other day because I was working on some drinks with pineapple, and I really wanted to have some cool pineapple garnishes to go with some of these drinks, and pineapple works great. And you can literally just slice. You're probably 2 to 3 millimeters thick is the most I would want to go to, and you leave it on for 70 degrees Celsius overnight, probably 8 to 12 hours depending on what fruit you're doing. And you can also use these things to make jerky, which I really want to try because I love me some jerky. But what do you guys think? Do you enjoy drinks with this kind of dehydrated garnish? Is it something that you've used in the past? What do you think? Would you be impressed if this kind of thing was on top of your drink? I know there's also out there freeze-dried fruit, which is a slightly different process. It achieves a similar result, but apparently the fruit tastes and looks better. Not something that I've seen in person or tried, but if anyone out there has tried it, do tweet me at BartenderHQ, and I would love to have a look at what you've been doing with it. Now, as well as obviously these fruit pieces, you can dehydrate herbs, you can dehydrate beef, as I say, to make jerky. You can also dehydrate kind of anything. You can just play around with it because you use so little in the dehydrator. You can actually just throw some stuff in there, see what works, and just experiment, go crazy. But what is your favourite garnish? Have you created anything really outlandish for your drinks, or do you prefer really fresh garnishes? Do tell me, I would love to know. Hit me up on the Twitter at BartenderHQ. Now that was really my focus for today. I just wanted to talk about dehydrated fruit. It's something that I've really been pushing to a lot of the customers that I've been going to see just recently. They seem to love the idea, and I'm really excited to see how it works in their venues. The venues I've used it in already, it's worked great. So I will see you on the next BartenderHQ.com podcast.